I'd like to talk about grieving with grace. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're here for the first time, then you're very welcome. Thank you for coming. Grieving with grace. Now, I've shared in previous videos that I very sadly lost my son just over 4 years ago. He had a sudden cardiac arrest. I was on my own with him. We were in our local park. I performed CPR to the best of my ability, along with some help with a couple of people that stopped by and helped me. But we very sadly I lost my son that day. That was 14th of April, 2021. There was times where I was completely broken, felt completely helpless, to the extent that I felt so many emotions all at the same time. The best way that I can explain it is that I felt as if I wanted to run into a brick wall again and again and again and again. I actually wanted to do that. But what stopped me? What stopped me was my logical mind, my head saying to me, but if you were to do that, it would be so upsetting for my family around me, my husband, my daughters. And it wouldn't bring my son back. It wasn't going to bring him back. There was times that I just wanted to fall to the ground and wail at the top of my lungs. There was times when I was on my own that I did cry very, very loudly and just allowed it all out. And I think that's really, it was helpful actually. But it's that control, isn't it? It's that losing control. You know, running into a brick wall again and again and again would be a complete loss of control, wouldn't it? Or if I got a sledgehammer and started breaking up furniture and smashing the house and the windows, that would be me completely losing control, wouldn't it? So I wanted to make this video about grieving with grace, even when I didn't feel that, I didn't feel very graceful at all. I wanted to scream it from the rooftops that I've lost my son. And what do I do now? How am I going to live my life? How am I going to carry on? I don't know how long my life is. No one knows how long their life is. How am I going to, if it's a long life, how am I going to live those years without him? How is that going to happen? I couldn't make any sense of it. But we are expected, aren't we, we're expected in our society, in Western society, to, grieve with grace, aren't we? We're not. I mean, I know in some cultures that, you get women who are wailing at the top of their lungs, and I've seen that, heard that, and I suppose there's times when if you watch the news, sadly, and everything that's going on, and I do feel that when you lose family members in horrific ways, that it can lead to overwhelming displays of grief, and I get that, and I understand that. But the thing to think about is that it's probably going to be for a space of time. It's not mostly, I wouldn't think that it's going to go on and on and on and on. That kind of level of display of emotional pain and grief. Yeah. And that's really what I'm talking about, because we can all have times, and I've had times where I've, my husband's caught me, I've basically just falling to the ground with the pain that I'm experiencing. But it's still, my head is still saying to me, Xala, control yourself, because this isn't helping and this isn't going to help. It's going to be upsetting, for my husband, for anyone around me. And I need to compose myself. I need to grieve with grace. And over 4 years on, I think I have done that. There has been times, again, I've shared, things that I've actually done, screaming into a pillow at the top of my lungs because I felt that I couldn't make any, too much noise. There was people around me who might hear me, and that would be distressing and upsetting for them. I've done that in the past. But those visions that you get, and the thing that I shared with you about, running into a brick wall, was when I felt completely that this has completely and utterly consumed me and taken over my body, and I've lost control, complete control. And when you lose control is when you might actually, do something that you wouldn't do if you were in a different state of mind, I feel that it's important to allow the grieving symptoms to come to the surface. That's so, so, so important. To cry. And in some societies and some communities, I've heard where people have said, oh, you can't cry. You shouldn't be crying. That's not, that's not a good thing to do. But it's a human response, a natural human response to cry. And if we sort of suppress someone, stop someone from crying, then how are they going to process what they are experiencing? How are they going to, heal? And when we talk about healing, we're not saying we are going to be fixed, because I'm forever healing a wound, which is always going to be there. Does that make sense? It's not ever going to be that it's now healed or it's now fixed. It's now gone away. I've now got over it. I've now moved on. It's none of those things. It's the opposite to all that. I am always going to have a wound that I'm healing for the rest of my life. I'm going to be moving forward with that wound, not move on from, because it's never going to go away. But am I grieving with grace? Yes, I am. Because if I had it my way, then I don't know. I think if I had it my way, I possibly wouldn't even be here after the loss of my son. Although I've never had, suicidal thoughts that I want to end my life. I've had thoughts about I don't want to be here, and I want the world to stop spinning because I want to get off it. But that doesn't mean to say I want to actually take my own life. That's not something that's not something that's ever entered my mind. And when I talked about running into a brick wall, that's obviously a way, that's me thinking, because the emotional, psychological pain is so mammoth that hurting myself physically would be almost a way of release. It felt as if it would be, but I never did it, and I've never done it, and I probably won't ever do it. Again, my logical mind tells me that I would probably have all the physical pain that would cause on top of all the emotional pain that I already have. And not to mention the pain that it would cause, my loved ones around me. So, yeah. Grieving with grace to me is, thinking with your logical mind, but thinking with your logical mind that it's important for you to express the emotions of grief and whatever those symptoms are. But yes, it needs to be controlled. We don't want to start, running through panes of glass, or start smashing up furniture, or start hurting ourselves and hurting somebody else. That's not what we want to do. So it's important to think about, though these thoughts can come up in our minds, but we don't usually act on them. Yeah, all sorts of thoughts can come up in our minds, but that doesn't mean to say we act on them. But at the same time, we need to process the symptoms of grief and get into a motion of healing, even if it's for the rest of our lives, and mostly it is. We need to be in that mode of healing. So we need to practice grieving with grace. Thank you for listening to this video. I hope that you found the content of it helpful. Please do comment, please do share, please do like, and please do subscribe, because we're still wanting numbers, lots of numbers. Those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for that. I can't even say how much it means to me. But yeah, I think it's all a matter of time. I think we will eventually get there, where we have a community where we can have each other's back and support each other and have a talk about, mental health and grieving, and not feel that we're burdening anybody by doing that. And we've got permission to do that. Yeah. So thank you for listening to this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, look after your hearts and souls. Thank you.